What's going on? Boys, thanks to our patrons and Fiverr customers, subscribe to our Patreon free for behind the scenes stuff. Arm yourselves, life stuff. Today was the first day it really hit me. My nonprofit is dead. It's been dying for a long time, and I knew this day was coming, but the finality of it hit me today. No amount of fighting is going to fix this. If I spent every second of every day fighting, I could probably win us maybe 4 or 5 additional months. And that amount of fighting, that amount of effort, knowing it's going nowhere, and especially, this is another thing, when you're fundraising, it feels wrong to fundraise and try to sell people on an idea, especially if they're donating money or amounts of money that are significant to them. You don't want to take money from people and sell them a dream of something that's not going to happen. So what I decided was I'm going to shift all my efforts into managing this decline instead of trying to stay afloat and trying to get us ahead and managing the decline. Just managing the decline and getting my own shit, or using some of that time to get my own shit sorted out. And we have, if we do nothing, we have a little under a year to do that. And on one hand, I feel relieved because the weight of feeling like there's something you can do is gone, and that feels good. On the other hand, there is an existential pressure happening. And of course, as this is all settling in, this is a cocksucker day. The people we paid to do our taxes didn't do our taxes correctly, and we owe, and we have 30 days to pay, or the government is going to start seizing our shit or levying our right to property, something like that. It's not a big deal, but we paid these sons of bitches money to do a job correctly, and they didn't. And then it's constant problem people. And one woman, dumb as dirt, she had complaints, but she said almost verbatim what someone I've been taking pretty good care of has complained about. And everybody's ungrateful. Everybody's a shitty little cunt. And I figured she'd been bad-mouthing us because who's not going to badmouth you when you're taking care of them? That's why you shouldn't take care of anybody. But it's different when you get essentially confirmation, verbatim, and specific complaints, the retards complaints. Like a person who complains about a coffee cup being placed in the wrong spot and making a big deal out of it. And then later, a completely different person who's fucking retarded complains that that coffee cup is in the wrong spot and should be in this other spot that other bitch complained about. And it's constant. And these fucking dudes who think it's okay to act tough, or it's smart to act tough. I have a gun. Do you really want to start a situation that is going to end poorly for both of us, however it turns out? And 99 times out of 100, no, they don't actually want to start a situation. But dudes like this, they've never been hit. They've never dealt with consequences in their life. Otherwise, they wouldn't threaten like that because they don't know what can happen or how quickly it can happen, how life-altering certain consequences are. And fuck just for you, this is for me. I have a record, so if you're going to put me in a self-defense situation, I have to defend myself all the way, because if I defend myself halfway, I'm going to get punished with the full consequences. So if you're going to do that to me, I'm going to do that to you. But this is what I'm talking about. A couple, one overt and one covert. The overt ones are irritating because you're so fucking dumb. But the covert ones really annoy me because you are a pussy in the Matrix. You can be overt if you want to and get away with it, but you're too much of a coward to risk it when there are no stakes. Or at least no stakes that you're aware of. Fuck, okay. And now, and sometimes you have to deal with recording software that is fucking with you. And obviously it has insecurity issues, and that's why it's fucking with you. And I was kind of calming down, spent the afternoon, evening calming down. Holy shit, that was... Goodness gracious me. I'm really about to lose my shit with me. You can see it in its eyes. People are shitheads, and they're all shitheads in specific ways, according to their issues, and it's worst when their issues make them act in ways that fuck with your issues. For me, that is specific. A lot of things make me angry. I hate a lot of people. Lots of different ways to hate people, lots of different reasons to hate people, and they will give you every reason to hate them, every which way you can hate them. But for me, the explosive hatred comes from men who are trying to be hostile when you are trying to be nice or decent or at least fair. And I didn't lose my shit earlier. I didn't come close to losing my shit earlier. But when I got home, out of nowhere, I got fury amped. And I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't breaking anything, which is one of my things I do. Breaking inanimate objects. Like, you're going to teach the object a lesson. Like, breaking this piece of shit that's not working is going to harm its creator, who must have been a cocksucker, through the ether. It does no good, but you have to do it. I don't know how to describe this. This happens sometimes. It's not that common. It's when you're paralyzed angry and cannot calm down. And this is bad. This is a bad state to be in, because these are the states that, if this happens at the wrong moment, you go to jail. Even if you don't do anything, being in a state like this around people, especially if they're doing shit that can put you into a state like this, they'll call the cops. And if you can't calm down between now and when the cops arrive, you're fucked. Because what the cops will do, they will not de-escalate. They will see a situation that could escalate, and then they will escalate it against you. But this got me thinking about anger issues. How to deal with them. Because what do you want when you are raging at somebody? What you want them to do, or what you want from them, is you want them to feel afraid of you, to feel powerless. You want to make them feel afraid. You want to make them feel powerless. You want to feel their fear. You want them to understand that fucking with you was a bad idea. You want them to know that. You want to impose understanding on them. And you can't do that, usually, first, because you'd get your ass kicked, like me. Also, because if you did anything, however it turns out, your life is now going in another unavoidable direction, an irreversible course. So, for self defense reasons, you cannot afford to freak out. But also, for gratification reasons, you can't afford to freak out. Because what I've learned, and sometimes you have to teach yourself, remind yourself of lessons you've learned, there are ways to get that gratification. That exact sort of gratification I was talking about. You just have to be smart and patient about it. And you should try to get that gratification. Turning the other cheek, that's a tactical decision. You'll know when you should turn the other cheek because it will make sense and it'll feel natural, but there are times when you just have a grudge and you need to do something about it somehow, even if it takes years. Because people need to learn lessons. I think that's a problem with our society, one of them. Boy, I was going to make a video about the United States last night, and I didn't, because even though I had one idea fully fleshed out, something was missing. I was thinking about doing it today, but then the anger issues thing came up. I have more ideas fleshed out. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow or the next day. But people don't understand consequences. And that's the thing. The people who need to be taught consequences most today are the ones who don't learn consequences, are spared from them, are protected from them, or become police to be protected from them, at least legal consequences. Lots of people in life have been fucking around, and a lot of people need to be made to find out if we're ever going to turn this around. Which we aren't, but it'll at least feel good. I don't remember where I heard this. I think it was from The Sopranos, but maybe it wasn't. It was from something mob related, mob media. The old guys never got angry. They smiled, they nodded, they laughed, and then they made sure you got it later. And that knowledge can help calm you down, and it's also the way you should go about things. You need to get into a position of power. Or if not power, then specific necessity, which in the right circumstance becomes power. Because something you learn about the world is there is a lot of shit people need. And for your gratification and for lessons to spread, you don't need to get back at everybody. All you need to do is be the person, or be one person of a few, because there are probably going to be a few, who stands between a piece of shit and something they need. You know, a negative assessment, not gone out of your way to supply, but someone knew you had dealings with this person and they came to you and they asked you about it because they're about to have dealings with this person. You can fuck what they need into the ground. Or maybe the day comes, they need something from you. You can refuse, always for good reasons. You can turn them away. You can recommend them to another person or another organization that you know is not what they need. Or you can be cruel and make them beg. I'm not someone who's good at attacking people in sophisticated ways. But I have gotten a lot better at encouraging situations in which a person might find themselves caught out. There are lots of ways you can make a person understand, or a sort of person understand, they should not have fucked with you. And it's all the better when nobody else sees what's happening. But there is an understanding between you and this sack of shit person. And this is another thing I've had to learn and I've had to come to terms with, because I think especially as a dude, you fantasize about being the fuck people up guy. And this is another thing. This doesn't warrant its own video. Incel core is dead. At least as it was, and that's fine because we're different now. And old style incel core, if you look at it without the nostalgia, a lot of it is annoying. We need new shit that speaks to a new set of concerns and feelings that are going unvoiced. Lots of incel core artists are going successfully in the love music direction, ironically, and that's been nice. Lots of great love songs come out of still incel core, but more former incel core artists these days. There needs to be a slasher form of incel core, and you got a bit of that back in the day, but I don't see that as much these days. I don't see it at all, really. Not the stuff I would like to listen to. I think there were 3 key pillars of classical incel core. It was, or they were, love problems, which we still have. There were the violence stuff, which there still is to an extent, more in the older stuff, less in the newer stuff, but still kind of there. And then the whole I'm such a big loser thing, which that did spin off into its own thing. It's still there. I hate that shit. That is really irritating. How long do you intend to stay in that phase of life? Or at least like it's something to be proud of. Anyway, back to the point. Especially as a dude, you fantasize about being the bad motherfucker, about being Liam Neeson, very particular set of skills. The gray man thing is popular. You want to be the secret badass. And that's why the Ned Flanders in a plate carrier thing, that's something you'll hear people say. That's where that comes from. But you can't do that. Both because odds are good you aren't a badass, and frankly, if you are a badass physically, and I say this with love, physically dangerous dudes are usually in their own bubble universe. You're someone who's not going to be in these sorts of situations very often because you're separated from the public, or you don't spend a lot of time around the public, or mentally you are in the MMA sphere, which is its own universe. I was thinking about making another MMA dudes video. Have you noticed the way there's a variety of MMA dudes, but I think if you took lots of potential shooters, weird, don't understand social cues, lots of negative emotions, low discipline, low self-control, and put them in MMA, nothing about them will change. They'll still be weird, they'll still be annoying, but for some reason, the problems they cause for society and for themselves, it goes away, usually. And I don't know why that is, but take all actual potential school shooters, teach them martial arts, and then they will disappear into martial artist Narnia. But back to normal dudes. You are not a badass. And this is another thing. You're probably not clever, even if you practice cleverness. Because cleverness is like its own martial art. And if you try to go up against somebody, even if you practice cleverness, if you try to go up against somebody who is naturally clever, you're going to lose every time. So you can't afford, for legal reasons and probably for physical reasons, you can't afford to try to beat someone's ass. That's not going to happen. You're not going to outfox anyone. If you want to get your gratification and teach the lessons that need to be taught as Joe Dipshit plus, maybe, you need to be, or to become, a canker sore on the mouth, on the gums of reality. You make people fight on your terms. You engage people only when and where you have the advantage. And when you have the advantage, you make sure they know it. And this is the thing. I'm a conflict avoidant sort of person most of the time. Which is probably why aggressive or cunty men bother me so much. Because I have daddy issues. I would rather not have to deal with an aggressive man at any time unless I'm shooting him and cutting him up and eating him and doing other things to him anally. I'm a very scared little fella. But what I've found is people don't really put up a fight when you have them by their balls and you both know it. Most people in those situations, there's no way for you to lose. They're going to humiliate themselves, or they're going to deny themselves the opportunity if they have any amount of pride, which you'll find, surprisingly, most people don't. Most people have no pride. Most people have no dignity. And they'll act like little animals to try to get you to do for them what they need done for them. You make people fight you in your realm. And here's another thing I'm finding. Because this sort of person, I said earlier, you're waging war against a sort of person, not necessarily individuals. When you stake your claim in your domain, most of this sort of person you'll have to deal with will be in your domain. Meaning, you start with more leverage when you're dealing with cunt people. There's no situation in which you don't have to deal with these people in life. But if you organize your life correctly, you'll spend most of your time engaging these shitty people on terms that are at least somewhat favorable to you. And occasionally you'll get those moments of absolute gratification in which you can make someone say uncle. And another factor to all this is faith. There isn't a tactic or a method to this, so we won't spend a lot of time on it. Nonetheless, it is important. I've found if you're living righteously, if you are spending your life doing what you feel directed by whatever deity you serve, directed to do, bad things happen to people who fuck with you. Maybe not the way you want, maybe not in the time frame you want, but nothing is more satisfying than learning somebody who fucked with you a couple years ago is in prison now, or is crippled now, or had their kid die, or they died. That happens sometimes. There is nothing more satisfying than that. And maybe it's just the natural attrition of life doing its work on people. But sometimes it feels like it's a little more pointed than that. And that's where the gratification comes from. Knowing unseen hands are strangling them, or a spirit, an agent of a deity, is nursing a tumor inside them. And the thing is, if it were just that, that would be pure cope. And that's the dice you roll with this is sometimes you're coping, other times it feels orchestrated. Like someone who is now paralyzed from the waist down who is giving you shit, and you just get to stand over them in a photograph that people will see. It's a good feeling, and it's the knowledge. I said earlier, it's the knowledge. You can look at that paralyzed person, look down at them in their eyes, and just smile. And you both know what is happening here. You both know it. And it's like everything is right with the world. Anyway, my point in all this anger issue stuff is I understand where the explosive anger comes from because you want to make someone understand that they fucked up. But it's that moment in that way is almost never the way to go about it. For your success and your satisfaction. Be patient. Take your time. Get into position and make them play on your terms. And when you can't do all that, commit holy, righteous acts in your God's name, and a lot of the time, because gods are cunts, your God will reward you. And probably you can feel, you're like Lautrec, you can feel Venus's arms wrapped around your shoulders when you get back at somebody you didn't have to do anything. Take a deep breath, go home, smoke, and grind your axe with intent. Because at some point, you will be able to use it. I promise you. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't.